The premise of decluttering may sound easy enough when you first hear it. Just get rid of everything that you are not using anymore. Or maybe you've heard of the phrase to declutter things that don't spark joy for you anymore. But when it comes down to it and we actually sit down to go through all of our items, we notice that it's not always as easy and simple as it may seem, and actually sometimes it can be downright tough and difficult. So today in this video, I'm going to share my best tips and strategies for how to get rid of things you don't need anymore and really make big changes to your home and maybe even your life. If you've ever tried going through some of your things and getting rid of some of your belongings, you will probably know what I'm talking about. Even if it is an item that we didn't even remember we had, and it has been sitting in the back of our closet for a year or in a box in the garage, you would think that it would be an easy decision to make, but when we are faced with the idea of letting that item go, it can still be a very difficult process. But if we want to declutter and feel better in our home and also enjoy all those wonderful benefits that come with having an organized space, we do need to start taking some steps. So in today's video, I'm going to share 4 strategies that can really help to break down those walls and actually start making the tough decisions and taking action. And these strategies can also work really well for everyone who's already done a lot of decluttering and who is looking to take things to the next level. The first strategy is something that I call getting real, and this is what I mean. When we buy something new, there's actually a lot more going on underneath the surface than you might realize. So with a lot of our purchases, we buy something and it is validating an idea that we have about ourselves. I'm the type of person who ... And the things we buy then become part of all the things we've collected around us, and they become part of our identity. So how we see ourselves and how we see the world. Our things speak of our interests, our values, our beliefs, our character, what we enjoy. And if you were to take a look in the home of someone who finds it important to take care of their health, you might find weightlifting equipment, exercise clothing, a Fitbit, running shoes, vitamins and supplements, protein powder. And if you were to go inside the home of someone who considers family to be one of the most important things, you may find a lot of photo albums and memorabilia and maybe toys and plushies from when their kids were young. So the things that we collect around us validate who we are. And then once we start to get rid of some of these things, it is not just about the thing, it is about letting go of a part of us that the item represents. And that can be tricky and painful, so it's easier to just chuck it back to where it was and not have to face that decision. And here's where the strategy of getting real with yourself comes into play, because our minds are not always rational and we can make subconsciously logical leaps that just are not true. So it is important to kind of examine where these thoughts and feelings are coming from and to also place a true thought against them. And a good example of this are memories and sentimental items. So if you have items in your home that maybe used to belong to someone who's not in your life anymore, or maybe they used to belong to your kids when they were young, then if you were to let go of those items, subconsciously it feels like you are saying that those memories are not important to you anymore, or that that person is not important to you anymore. And by examining this and getting more real with ourselves, we then start to realize that these memories are inside us and not inside the item, and that letting go of an item does not mean that we don't care. We still have the memories, we still have the love, and we are not letting that go. And we don't have to attribute these things to that item. The item is just the item that represents something that we feel inside. And if we want to, we can always take a picture of the item before we let it go, so we always have that visual reminder of those memories. And this can work the same way with items that we feel say something about us. So for example, getting rid of your hiking gear because you've always fancied yourself this outdoorsy person who's really fit and goes hiking every weekend. Then get real with yourself. Have you actually used them in the last 3 months? Or will you realistically use them in the next 3 months? It is okay to let go of things that represent interests and part of ourselves that for one reason or another, who knows why, but we're not really interested in anymore. And you know what? We cannot do everything and we can't be everything. And it is okay to let that go and focus on the hobbies and the interests that you do currently have, because there's not enough space and time in the world to do it all. We're about to move on to the second strategy, but before we do, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up because that really helps to get the video out there. And if you're not already, please subscribe to the channel for weekly videos just like this one. My second strategy is called permission and forgiveness. And this means first, giving yourself permission to let go, and second, forgiving yourself for making purchases in the past that, looking back on them, were a mistake. I've touched on this briefly in last week's video about how to start minimalism, and a lot of you seem to recognize this. And we can be pretty hard on ourselves, and it can be tough to face the consequences of our past purchasing mistakes. And of course, this can hold us back from decluttering. It is hard to get rid of things that we've spent a lot of money on, and we feel like we've wasted all this money. And now we get to ask ourselves a question. And the question is, just because I've spent a lot of money on this thing in the past, does that then also mean that I have to hold on to that item in the future? If the item is not contributing to living your best life today, the answer is no. By keeping an item around, you are continuing to pay for it with space in your home, with time and attention. You need to maintain that item and keep it clean. Not to mention, you are paying for it with your energy every time you look at it. So the only items that are worth these things are items that are adding value to your life today. Now, if the answer to this question is no, then that means that you can declutter the item. But it is important also to not beat yourself up about it. So if you feel that this purchase was a mistake and you feel like you've wasted money, the only thing that you have to do is try and learn from this mistake and not repeat it in the future. So you don't have to beat yourself up right now. Don't be angry, even if you've made this particular mistake 20 times already. We all make mistakes. It's all right. We learn from them. We move on. I have one video that I really recommend that can make this whole process easier, and it is called Minimalism and Decluttering, 10 questions to ask you haven't heard before. And this video can really help to give you a lot of clarity. So I will leave that video link in the description box below to check out after you're done watching this one. The third strategy that I want to share with you today is called break it up. As with any kind of project or goal or dream, it's important to break it up into smaller, more manageable chunks. Because if we don't do that, it is very easy to become completely overwhelmed and not know where to start or how to begin, and therefore we don't take action. We may have seen lots of beautiful pictures of minimalist homes online, or maybe we've had this vision of how we want our space to look in our head, and then we take a look around our space and we can become a little paralyzed because the current version of our home is so far removed from where we want it to go. First of all, when it comes to decluttering, but really this goes for anything you want to accomplish in life really, that doing something is always better than doing nothing. And every step you take brings you one step closer to reaching your goal, even if that step wasn't the best place to start or the most efficient way to go about it. If you want to write a book, you don't make a to-do list with write a book. You break it up. So you think of a topic, you maybe describe the protagonist, you write an outline, or you write the first chapter or even the first paragraph. And that is how you can do it with decluttering your home as well. Exactly how to break it up into smaller tasks kind of depends on your personality and also your personal situation, and also the amount of time and energy that you have available to declutter your home. But here are some examples. You could set a timer to declutter for 15 minutes per day. You could write down a plan to declutter your kitchen and then add one drawer or one cabinet per day, and then just follow that list as you move along. You could try the minimalism game, where you declutter one item the first day, 2 items the second day, so on and so forth until you reach the 30 days. And I also have a minimalism decluttering challenge video that you can accomplish within 1 month. So I will leave that for you in the description box below as well. And the last decluttering strategy that I want to share with you today is something I call doing the switcheroo. So let me explain what that means. Decluttering and getting rid of stuff is very much focused on less and on giving things up. So maybe you used to have 200 items in your wardrobe, and now after decluttering, you're left with only 75 items. That means that you gave up 125 items of clothing, which could be a whole wardrobe on its own. So it's very much focused on what we are giving up by decluttering items. And this is especially hard when it comes to dealing with items that we are not using. We haven't been using them for a while, but they still are very good and they still look new, and getting rid of them would be such a waste, because what if we might need them someday? So we better hang on to them, because maybe we'll need it next week or next month or next year. And this way of thinking is again very much focused on what we stand to lose by letting go of that item. So now it's time to do the switcheroo and focus on what we stand to gain from letting that item go. Let's say that it's a bread maker that you haven't used for over a year. If you give it up, that means that you will not be able to make bread anymore yourself, or at least not as easily. So that is what you'll stand to lose, but let's look at what you'll stand to gain from giving up this item. One is that by getting rid of it, it immediately clears up a huge amount of space in your kitchen. Second is that your kitchen becomes easier to clean because of that. The third is that cooking and being in your kitchen becomes more enjoyable because there's less clutter. Fourth is that your health may start to improve because it is nicer to be in your kitchen now, so you're cooking more. And five is that you're no longer feeling that bad feeling of guilt every time you look at that bread maker because it's there and you feel like you need to use it and you're not. So when you're faced with these tough decisions, try to switch it around and ask yourself, what do you stand to gain from giving up this item? A huge thanks to all my patrons for supporting this channel and making these videos possible. If you'd like to see more videos from me, you can always join us over there. I also like to get a little bit more personal there, share more about my personal life, as well as create video topics that my patrons suggest. So you can join us at patreon.com/simplehappyzen. It's $5 a month, and of course you can start and cancel anytime. If you want more minimalism, right here is 50 things I don't buy or own, and right here is minimalist decor and how to simplify your home. As always, questions, comments, conversations down below. Have a wonderful day, my friends, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye!